I'm sitting here on the hard plastic chair in the emergency room hallway, my body aching like hundreds of needles piercing my skin. The wounds on me, a few deep cuts, bruises everywhere, are nothing compared to the pain tearing my heart apart. I'm Maddox Carter, 35 years old, a steelworker in Houston, Texas. Normally, I'm used to grueling days under the scorching sun, hands and feet calloused from iron and steel. But today, everything is different. I feel like a soulless corpse, sitting here waiting, praying, trying not to collapse. In the hospital, behind those frosted glass doors, my 2 children are fighting for their lives. Aaron, my 6-year-old boy with his messy curls and a gap-toothed grin from losing his front teeth. And Eva, my 4-year-old girl, with her big round eyes and a chirping voice like a singing bird. Just a few hours ago, everything was perfect, so much so that I thought I was living in a dream. Today was Sunday, and we decided to go on a picnic at the lakeside park near Houston. Bonnie, my wife, 32, is a PR director for Montgomery Shipping Lines. A busy job, but she always made time for family. She was beautiful, with flowing golden hair and a warm smile that could melt anyone. We'd been married 7 years, and though life wasn't always easy with Bonnie by my side, it was all worth it. This morning we woke early. I brewed coffee in the small kitchen of our modest suburban home. Bonnie was packing the picnic basket. Grilled chicken sandwiches, fresh fruit, and chocolate chip cookies Aaron adored. "Honey, today will be the best day ever," she said, kissing my cheek while Eva clung to my legs, demanding to be picked up. Aaron ran circles around us, holding his little soccer ball, excitedly talking about playing with Dad. We laughed, the sound echoing through the house. At that moment, I thought how beautiful life is. We drove our old truck, a Ford pickup I fixed myself, out of the city. The highway was quiet, cool wind blowing through the open windows. Bonnie sat in the passenger seat, turning on the radio, singing along to her favorite country song. "I love you, Maddox," she whispered, squeezing my hand. Aaron and Eva in the back sang with Mom, giggling every time the truck bounced. We stopped at the park, spreading a picnic blanket under a large oak tree. I grilled meat on the portable stove while Bonnie played tag with the kids. Aaron kicked the ball into my leg, laughing hysterically. Eva picked wildflowers, running to give them to Mom, for the most beautiful mom in the world. In those moments, I felt like the luckiest man alive. After eating, we strolled around the lake. The water was clear blue, reflecting the afternoon sky. Bonnie leaned her head on my shoulder, whispering about the future. "You know, I dream of a bigger house with a yard for the kids to play. And you'll get promoted, I'm sure of it." I smiled, holding her tighter. "With you beside me, I can do anything." The kids ran around, tired but happy. As the sun began to set, we packed up and got in the truck to head home. "Today was so fun, Dad," Aaron cheered from the back. Eva yawned, rubbing her eyes against her brother's shoulder. The drive home was about an hour. I drove slowly, savoring the peace. Bonnie played soft music, stroking Eva's hair as she dozed. Suddenly, from the opposite direction, a large truck swerved toward us. I saw it zigzagging, the driver likely out of control, maybe drunk, tired, or a tire issue. My heart pounded. "Bonnie, hold the kids tight," I shouted, voice breaking with fear. The truck barreled straight at us, horn blaring. I swerved instinctively to avoid it, but it was too late. The horrific crash exploded like a bomb. Metal twisting, glass shattering, tires screeching on the road. Our truck flipped, rolling several times, everything plunging into chaos. I felt my body thrown, head slamming hard, excruciating pain. Bonnie's and the kids' screams rang out, then faded into the grinding metal. When I came to, everything was blurry. My head buzzed, blood dripping from my forehead into my eyes. I lay face down on the hot asphalt, the smell of smoke and gasoline thick. "Bonnie, Aaron, Eva," I whispered, trying to move. My body ached, but I crawled toward the wreckage. The truck lay on its side, glass scattered everywhere. I saw Bonnie a few meters away on a pile of shattered glass, blood pooling on the road. My heart stopped. "Bonnie!" "No." I crawled over, hands trembling, pulling her into my arms. She gasped faintly, blood soaking her clothes, face pale. Her eyes opened slightly, looking at me, but no words came. Love, don't leave me. Please open your eyes. I screamed, tears mixing with blood. I held her tight, feeling her weak breaths fade. She died right before my eyes in my arms. No goodbye, no final smile. Just deadly silence. Voices shouted from afar, ambulance sirens wailing. But my mind was blank, hearing nothing. I was like a sleepwalker, letting them pull me from the scene. They checked the kids. Aaron and Ava lay motionless in the truck, covered in blood. They're alive, but critical, someone yelled. I was loaded into an ambulance, sitting like a corpse, staring out the window, seeing nothing. The ride to the hospital stretched endlessly, each second a century. I thought of Bonnie, her smile, our promise to grow old together. Now what? She was gone and I never said goodbye. At the hospital, it was a nightmare. They rushed Aaron and Eva into the ER immediately. The doors slammed shut, leaving me alone in the desolate hallway. Cold, white neon lights shone on the glossy tile floor, hurried footsteps echoing. I sat dazed on the chair, holding the emergency form a nurse handed me. Sign here. We need emergency surgery. Her voice was distant. I signed, my calloused, blood-crusted hands shaking. Bonnie's blood, the kids, mine, all mixed. I looked at my hands, hardened from steelwork, and felt utterly powerless, wanting to scream. Why did everything shatter like this? Just hours ago, my wife and kids' laughter echoed. Bonnie laughing at Aaron's jokes, Ava giggling when I carried her. Now it was ashes. I never said goodbye to Bonnie. What were our last words? I love you. Yes, that's what she said before the crash. But I never replied. I sat there, mind spinning with repeating images. The crash vivid, metal colliding, smoke, blood on the road. I wondered if I'd driven slower, taken another route. Guilt gnawed at me. Outside, night fell, rain pattering on the windows. I thought of work at the steel mill. What now? But no, only the kids. Please let them live. I stood, pacing the hallway, peering through door cracks. Nurses rushed in and out, faces grave. How are they? I asked, voice hoarse. We're doing everything, Mr. Carter. Please wait. Waiting. That was hell. The cold white neon lights still shone down the hospital hallway, the distant beeping of machines echoing like a harsh reminder. I sat up, wiping sweat from my forehead, my hands still crusted with dried blood. What time was it? I glanced at the wall clock, nearly 3 a.m. No new updates from the ER. A nurse passed, giving me a pitying glance but not stopping. I wondered, were Aaron and Eva in pain? Were they calling for Dad? The thought tightened my chest like someone squeezing my heart. Suddenly, hurried footsteps echoed from the end of the hallway. I looked up to see two familiar yet distant figures approaching. Harlan Montgomery, my father-in-law, 68, chairman of Montgomery Shipping Lines, the largest shipping company in Texas with hundreds of cargo ships sailing the seas. He was tall, silver-haired, in a glossy black suit like he'd just stepped out of a board meeting. Beside him was Sylvia Montgomery, my mother-in-law, 66, chair of a prestigious Houston charity where she hosted galas to flaunt among the elite. She always valued reputation over humanity. I knew that well over the years. News of the accident had spread like wildfire. Of course, with their status, local media had reported it, or someone from the hospital called. I saw them from afar, my heart pounding. Were they here to comfort? Or to? I didn't dare think further. Harlan strode toward me, his eyes scanning me with contempt, from my blood-stained shirt and torn jeans to my dust-covered work boots. He stopped in front of me, face flushed with rage. Maddox! His voice boomed like thunder, turning a few nurses' heads. What have you done? You've ruined my daughter's life. You caused this tragedy. He pointed at my face, voice trembling with anger. If not for you, Bonnie would still be alive. She wouldn't have died so horribly because of a worthless steel worker like you. Sylvia stood beside him, face rigid as stone, her gaze cutting like a knife. She didn't cry, didn't grieve. Only fury flashed in her pale blue eyes. Today's tragedy was inevitable, she said, voice shrill like needles. When Bonnie entered this misguided marriage with someone like you, We warned her countless times, but she insisted on choosing you, a man with nothing but calloused hands. And now, our family's reputation is dragged through the mud because of this accident. The press will report it, people will talk. Are you satisfied? Each word hammered my chest. I stood frozen, trembling with pain and humiliation. My heart raced, blood rushing to my face. I wanted to retort, to speak of our happy years with Bonnie, but I said nothing. I just bowed my head, taking all the blame. Why? Because arguing was pointless. They never saw me as a son-in-law, only an outsider tainting their noble lineage. Harlan continued raging. How did you drive? Do you know Bonnie was my pride? She was smart, beautiful, with a bright future. Then you appeared, dragging her into the abyss. He panted, face purple. Sylvia crossed her arms, adding, and now our grandchildren are in there because of you. Do you think you're fit to be their father? A steelworker living in the house we gifted, now causing this disaster? Her words twisted into my heart. I thought of Aaron and Ava fighting inside, tears silently rolling down my cheeks, but I stayed silent, head bowed lower. Harlan turned and walked away. We'll handle Bonnie's funeral, he told a nearby hospital staff, voice cold as a command. The Montgomery family will take care of everything. And him, he pointed at me. He doesn't need to be there. Keep him away. Sylvia nodded, giving me one last contemptuous glance, then followed her husband. Her high heels clicked on the tile, fading away. When everything quieted, the hallway sank back into deadly silence. I slumped into the chair, knees shaking. Looking at my shirt still stained with Bonnie's blood, the dark, crusted patches. Pain and humiliation merged. In my mind, memories of our early days flooded back, vivid as yesterday. 8 years ago at the steel mill gate where I worked. I was finishing the afternoon shift, tired but content, when a luxury car, a gleaming Mercedes, stopped by the road, smoke rising from the hood. Inside was Bonnie in a fitted office dress, golden hair in a bun, looking like she stepped from a fashion magazine. She stepped out, face flushed with frustration. The car died. Do you know how to fix it? She asked, voice slightly trembling. I smiled, wiping my hands on a rag, approaching. Let me check, miss. I opened the hood, inspected the engine, just a clogged coolant hose. While fixing it, we talked. She said she was PR director for the family company, heading home after a meeting. I shared about steelwork, long days under the sun. She laughed, her warm smile making my heart flutter. You're handy. Thank you. Maddox, I said, wiping sweat. Bonnie, she replied, shaking my hand. Then I didn't know she was a Montgomery heiress. I only knew that smile changed my life. Our love blossomed quickly like fire on dry straw. We met often, coffee after work, park walks on weekends. Bonnie was different from my world, smart, funny, full of energy. You make me feel free, Maddox, she said once by the lake, not always maintaining a perfect image. I loved her for that, for seeing me, not my background. Just 6 months later, I proposed under the oak tree in the park with a simple ring I'd saved for. She cried, hugging me tight. Yes, love. But marriage wasn't easy. When Bonnie brought me to meet her family, hell began. Harlan looked at me like a beggar. Daughter, are you insane? A worker? We're Montgomerys with tradition. He shouted, face red. Sylvia was colder. Bonnie, think of reputation. He'll drag you down. They opposed fiercely, cut her allowance, even threatened disownment. But Bonnie was firm. I love him, it's my choice. We married in a small ceremony, just friends and my family. Harlan and Sylvia didn't attend but sent a gift, the suburban house, a reminder we still depended on them. For 7 years we lived happily, 2 kids, a warm home. I worked at the mill. Bonnie advanced in the company. We had family evenings. I told stories to Aaron and Eva. Bonnie cooked dinners. You're my pillar, she often said, hugging me after long days. But whenever her family appeared, Christmas parties, birthdays, the contempt resurfaced. Harlan called me the steel guy. Sylvia hinted, Bonnie, you deserve better. I always endured silently, not wanting her caught in the middle. "Don't mind them, love," Bonnie comforted. "They'll change." But now, with her gone, those insults deepened the unhealed wound. I sat in the hospital hallway, tears streaming. Harlan and Sylvia had left, piling on more pain. I thought of Bonnie, her smile when we met, our nights embracing. Now what? Face a funeral I'm barred from, with 2 children in critical condition? My heart raced, anxiously awaiting ER news. Would they take the kids from me too? The thought chilled me. 3 days after that horrific accident, while I was still struggling to cope with the loss of Bonnie, another devastating blow struck suddenly and mercilessly. I was sitting in the hallway, eyes fixed on the ER doors, hoping for good news about Aaron and Eva. The doctor emerged, his face grave, and called my name in a low voice. "Mr. Carter, about little Aaron, we did everything we could, but the boy didn't make it." Those words hit me like a thunderbolt. My legs buckled instantly, my body collapsing forward. I had to grab the wall to keep from falling. My eyes stared blankly at the death certificate he handed me, the cold black and white letters confirming that my little Aaron was gone forever. My heart stopped, and the world around me blurred through tears. I sat for hours in that freezing hallway, hands trembling as I signed the confirmation of death. Each stroke of the pen felt like a knife stabbing my heart, leaving me gasping in pain. Aaron, the boy with the gap-toothed smile and sparkling eyes, was no more. I recalled our last moments, the laughter on the picnic, his cry of "Dad" while kicking the ball. Now it was just memory, and I had to sign papers to lay him in the earth. The hospital hallway felt colder than ever, the wind whistling through window cracks like a lament for my fate. Little Eva remained in a deep coma, and the doctor said her condition was critical. The girl needs emergency surgery to remove a brain hematoma, followed by long-term treatment with medication and constant monitoring, he explained, voice full of concern. The costs mounted daily, far beyond a steelworker's means. I looked into the doctor's eyes, swallowing hard, and asked, "How much, doctor?" He shook his head, quoting a staggering figure. Thousands of dollars per week, possibly for months. My heart clenched, but I knew I couldn't let Eva go like Aaron. She was my last hope, the remaining piece of our shattered family. I forced myself to stand, though body and spirit were exhausted. I gathered all our savings, small amounts from my workers' pay and Bonnie's bonuses. I sold our only remaining vehicle, the old Ford pickup that had witnessed so many family memories. I posted ads to sell household items, the sofa where we watched movies, the dining table for family meals, even Bonnie's wedding ring I cherished like treasure. Each sold item tore a piece of my soul, but I had no choice. I borrowed everywhere, calling mill friends, co-workers, even high-interest loans with brutal rates, just to cling to slim hope for Eva. Each call, each negotiation made my heart race, anxiously awaiting help. Hospital bills piled up like an endless nightmare. Bonnie's company insurance covered only a fraction. The rest fell on me. Every time a nurse brought a new bill, I sat trembling, signing. My heart twisted in helplessness, like signing my own death sentence. "Mr. Carter, this week's bill is $5,000, she said, voice apologetic. I stared at the number, thinking of Eva lying motionless with IVs everywhere, and signed with tears rolling. How could I pay it all? But I couldn't stop. Eva needed me, and I'd do anything to save her. In utter desperation, with money gone and bills mounting, I turned to the Montgomery mansion for help from my in-laws. It was my last resort, no way out. I took the bus to Houston's upscale suburbs, where their villa sat amid vast gardens and towering iron gates. My heart pounded as I rang the bell, anxiously waiting. The maid opened, eyeing me suspiciously, but eventually led me to the grand living room where Harlan and Sylvia sat. I stood there, clothes disheveled, voice shaking as I explained Eva's condition and the massive costs. "Please help me. Eva is your granddaughter. She needs surgery urgently." Harlan listened, then gave a contemptuous smirk, face unchanged. "Aaron's death was your fault, Maddox," he said, voice cold as stone. The Montgomery family has no place for a lowly worker who only tarnishes our name. You bear full responsibility alone. We can't help." His words punched my face, making me stagger. Sylvia stood beside him, arms crossed, eyes full of disdain. "Bonnie is dead, Maddox," she said, voice shrill and merciless. "You're no longer family. Your place is in the stables, not begging at our villa door like a beggar." Each word cut deep into my pride, making me feel smaller and more worthless than ever. I stood frozen, tears rolling, but begged no more. I turned and left, steps heavy on the path to the gate, heart torn apart. On the way back to the hospital, memories of Aaron and Eva flooded, intensifying the pain. I recalled Aaron running in the yard, Eva hugging my neck for stories. Now Aaron was gone, Eva fighting alone. Would she wake? What if I ran out of money? Anxiety and fear enveloped me, each breath labored. Back at the hospital, I sat by Eva's glass window, whispering, "Baby Dad won't give up." But deep down, I knew losses were piling up, and I faced them alone. The next morning, as the sun barely peeked through the gray clouds, I received a call from the real estate office. The voice on the other end was cold and professional. "Mr. Carter, we regret to inform you that ownership of your house has been revoked by the Montgomery family. They are the legal owners, and this decision takes effect immediately." My heart stopped in that moment. That house, the wedding gift from Bonnie's parents, was where we built our home, where Aaron and Eva were born, filled with laughter and memories. Now it was taken abruptly, like a final punch to my mounting pain. I rushed to the bus, heart pounding with anxiety, unsure what I'd face. Would they really do this? Was there any humanity left in them? The thought made me tremble the whole way. When I arrived, the sight froze me. Harlan and Sylvia's luxury cars were parked right in front, gleaming under the weak sunlight. My and the kids' belongings were strewn chaotically across the yard, dirty clothes mixed up, Aaron and Eva's toys scattered, even our wedding photos tossed into puddles from last night's rain. The water soaked the pictures, blurring our happy smiles as if erasing the memories. My heart wrenched, a surge of physical and emotional pain. How could they do this? This was our home, where my children grew up. On the porch steps, Harlan and Sylvia stood watching me with stone-cold faces, no expression. Harlan crossed his arms, eyes full of contempt. Sylvia smirked faintly as I bent down, trembling, picking up items one by one. To them, I was just a scandal bringer, a lowly worker who soiled their noble family's honor. "You're late, Maddox," Harlan said, voice calm like discussing business. "This is no longer your house. We're reclaiming it to avoid further trouble," Sylvia interjected, voice shrill and mocking. "You should be grateful we let you stay this long. Now leave. Don't dirty the place more." I said nothing, silently gathering what remained, stuffing it into the old bag I brought. Each movement was heavy, like carrying the world on my shoulders. Harlan and Sylvia stood there, watching like it was a cheap comedy, their faint smiles deepening my humiliation. I turned and walked away in the light rain, steps heavy on the now strange familiar road. Rain fell harder, soaking my clothes, but I didn't care. In my mind, memories of the house flooded. Mornings with Bonnie brewing coffee, Aaron running around, Eva giggling. Now all gone, and I had no place to return. My heart raced with fear. How would I live now? Eva was still in the hospital, costs piling up, and I had no roof over my head. I returned to the hospital parking lot, finding a hidden corner to shelter for the night. It was a dark spot under the emergency stairs rarely passed. I spread the old bag as a mat, curling up under the dim neon light, listening to cars coming and going. From then on, my life fell into a hellish loop. By day, I worked at the Houston steel mill, where the roar of machines and furnace heat left my body drained. I pushed iron carts, welded metal, hands and feet more calloused from nonstop work. Each 12-hour shift, but I didn't complain. I needed money for Eva. At night, I took cleaning jobs in an office building a few blocks from the hospital. I mopped floors, emptied trash, scrubbed toilets under cold fluorescent lights, the chemical smell making my head spin. Every dollar earned went to Eva's medical bills. I dared not spend on myself, ate cheap cheese sandwiches from convenience stores, drank tap water instead of meals, sometimes dozing off on hospital waiting chairs from exhaustion. My body grew depleted, skin sallow, eyes shadowed from lack of sleep. Each time I looked through the glass at Ava lying motionless amid IVs and beeping machines, my heart clenched. She looked so small and fragile, like a breeze could take her. "Wake up, baby," I whispered, hand pressed to the glass, tears rolling. Did she hear? Would surgery succeed? Anxious waiting for doctor updates made each day a century. Many nights, curled in the parking lot corner, I held my phone, fingers trembling over my parents' number. I wanted to call, hear Dad's stern but warm voice, Mom's gentle comfort, to feel someone still cared. "Dad, Mom, I'm breaking," I thought, tears welling. But I put the phone down, screen dark. I feared worrying them, feared them knowing their son had nothing. No wife, no son, no home, just a comatose daughter and mounting debt. My parents were elderly, living simply on Houston's outskirts. I didn't want to burden them. The thought deepened my isolation, lying awake till dawn, listening to rain pattering on the overhang. I realized in this vast city of skyscrapers and rushing crowds, I was alone, physically drained, spiritually isolated, faith in life shattered. I wandered night streets after shifts, seeing people laughing in diners, wondering why fate was so cruel. Memories of Bonnie and Aaron haunted like ghosts, waking me with silent screams. Would Eva wake? Could I hold on? Anxiety and despair intertwined, each day a battle. I thought of giving up, but Eva's image pulled me back. I had to continue even as a shadow. Those days passed in an endless cycle of exhaustion and pain. By day I struggled at the steel mill where the deafening machinery and furnace heat burned my body like fire. I pushed heavy iron bars, welded metal with trembling hands, each movement reminding me of the depletion seeping into my bones. At night, after the office cleaning shift, I returned to the hidden corner of the hospital parking lot, spreading the old bag as a mat and trying to catch sleep amid passing cars. Sleep came fitfully, filled with dreams of the accident, Bonnie's screams, and Aaron playing in our old yard. One night, like any other, light rain made the air colder. I curled under the makeshift shelter, body aching from the long day, finally dozing off. The rain pattered on the tin roof like a sad melody, pulling me into shallow sleep. Suddenly, I sensed light footsteps approaching. At first, I thought it was an illusion or someone passing the lot. But the steps stopped beside me, and a warm, familiar voice called, "Maddox. Maddox, son." The voice jolted me like electricity, awakening my weary senses. My heart pounded with excitement and fear. Who found me in this hideout? I jolted awake, sitting up abruptly, and in the dim neon light of the lot I saw a tall figure before me. It was Wilson Carter, my father, with his familiar stern face but eyes full of worry and compassion. At 65, he still stood sturdy from a life of experience, silver hair neatly combed, wearing the old jacket I remembered from childhood. His face bore deep wrinkles from years of labor, but now they seemed deeper, as if my pain had etched them further. I froze for a moment, unbelieving. My father, the man I respected but feared disappointing, stood here in the hospital parking lot at midnight. "Dad, why are you here?" I whispered, voice breaking with emotion and surprise. My heart raced, anxiously awaiting his answer, unsure if he came to scold or help. Dad didn't reply immediately. He stepped closer, eyes scanning my makeshift shelter. The old bag, scattered items, my gaunt body. He stopped at the ICU window where Eva lay motionless amid IVs and beeping machines. His face darkened, seeing his tiny granddaughter, eyes glistening. "Eva, poor girl," he whispered, voice low with sorrow. Then he turned to me, voice low but heavy with reproach. "Son, why hide from your parents? Why let us hear this from others? Do you think we don't care?" His words stabbed my heart. I bowed my head, tears rolling. I'd hidden to spare them worry, but the truth exposed now shamed me. Dad sat beside me on the cold concrete, voice hoarse with emotion. "This afternoon, Sylvia Montgomery called," he said, bitterness in her name. "With venom, she said I failed to raise you. That my son killed her daughter and left her granddaughter dying. She insulted you terribly. Useless, low-class, shameless for begging after what you caused. My heart clenched, eyes blurring with shame and pain. The insults weren't new, but hearing them from Dad made them heavier. He continued, I was stunned, son. Not by the insults. I'm used to elite arrogance, but knowing my son suffered terribly in silence. I knew you were hurting, alone, and I couldn't sit still. Hearing Dad recount Sylvia's call only tightened my chest more, eyes blurring with overwhelming shame. I wasn't hurt by the insults. I'd heard them too often from Harlan and Sylvia, but because my parents, lifelong honest people, now bore disgrace because of me. They were elderly, deserving peaceful retirement, yet heard curses about their son. Dad, I'm sorry, I whispered, voice choking, tears uncontainable. My heart raced with anxiety and regret. Would Dad be disappointed? Turn away like the Montgomerys? The thought shook me, but Dad shook his head, eyes full of compassion. He stepped closer, placing his calloused hand on my shoulder, warm and steady like childhood. His voice was hoarse but firm, an unbreakable promise. Maddox, from now on you won't fight alone. Your parents are with you, we're family, and family doesn't abandon each other. His words flowed like cool water through my barren desert heart, easing some of the enveloping loneliness. In the cold, white parking lot light, I looked up at Dad, the man I feared disappointing, who taught me to rise after falls. And for the first time in long months, I felt not alone in this harsh world. My heart still raced, but now with a flicker of hope, knowing someone shared the burden. Dad pulled me up, hugging me tightly, strong, warm, long-missed. Son, I know you've endured much. Losing Bonnie, Aaron, now Eva. But you're not alone. Your mom's worried at home, too. His voice trembled with emotion. I hugged back, tears soaking his shirt, and in that moment fatigue seemed to vanish. Childhood memories returned. Dad teaching me to fix cars, Mom sewing clothes, family dinners. They never complained about simple life, and now they came to save me from the abyss. Dad, I didn't want to burden you, I whispered, but he shook his head. You're our pride, Maddox. No matter what. We rented a small motel room near the hospital for the night. Dad shared his worry from my silence. I called many times, you didn't answer. I knew you were hiding, but not how bad it was. He looked at Eva's room, eyes determined. We'll save her. I'll help. My heart pounded with excitement. Was there real hope? Did Dad have a way? But his presence alone made me stronger. That night, for the first time in months, I slept peacefully beside Dad, knowing this nightmare had a ray of light. The next morning, as the sun peeked through the gray clouds, my father gently woke me. We left the motel and he led me to a small cafe near the hospital. You need to eat something, Maddox, he said, voice firm but caring. I sat there, holding a hot coffee cup, mind still foggy from the first nightmare-free sleep. Dad looked at me, eyes serious, and began, Son, I have something to reveal. It's time you knew the truth. My heart raced with excitement and worry. What truth? About the accident or the Montgomerys? I stared at him, waiting, barely breathing. Dad took a deep breath and revealed our family was never poor as I thought. For years, I was co-founder of a major local shipping company, he said, voice low but clear. Carter Logistics, son. We're not ordinary workers as you imagined. I built it from nothing with an old friend. Now it's one of Texas's top cargo transport firms. I froze, heart pounding like it would burst. Childhood memories flooded. Dad coming home late with greasy hands, Mom scrimping for food, our small wooden house with a leaky roof in heavy rain, all twisted like a distorted painting. I stared at him, disbelieving, stammering, Dad? How? Why hide it all these years? Excitement and confusion overwhelmed. Was this a dream or a joke to comfort me? Dad looked at me, eyes patient and loving, explaining why he kept the secret. I didn't want my son spoiled by wealth, Maddox, he said slowly. I grew up truly poor, and no money can ruin someone without valuing work. I wanted you independent, to taste honest labor, face life's storms, to become truly strong. If you knew we were rich young, you might be lazy, dependent, or worse. I wanted you resilient, like me. His words washed away my questions like cool water, but overwhelmed me. I recalled steelworker years, endless hot shifts, tired nights smiling with Bonnie. All silent lessons from Dad. Dad continued, voice warmer. I've watched you all these years, Maddox. I know you worked hard but lived decently, no complaints, no falling into drink or gambling. You built a family with Bonnie, loved the kids, faced hardships without bowing. That showed me you've truly grown, son. I'm proud of you. Hearing that, my chest tightened more than ever. Hot tears rolled down my cheeks. Shame for misunderstanding my parents, emotion for their silent love. I realized those hard labor years, nights thinking I was alone, had watchful eyes protecting from afar. Dad, I didn't know, I whispered, voice choking, gripping his hand. My heart raced with excitement. Was everything changing? Did I deserve this truth? Dad patted my shoulder, voice slow and warm like childhood comfort. Time for me to help my son, Maddox. We won't let Eva suffer more. The next morning, Dad contacted hospital directors directly, using company connections to cover all Eva's treatment and recovery costs. I stood beside him as he spoke on the phone, heart pounding. Would they accept? Erase the huge debt? He hung up, smiling. Done, son. No more debts. Tears rolled again, this time gratitude. Not stopping there, Dad brought Houston's top brain trauma surgeon, a renowned expert, to handle Eva's surgery, with a private nursing team 24/7. I want the best for her, he said firmly. I followed Dad to the hospital, watching doctors consult, heart racing with worry and hope. Surgery was that afternoon. I sat in the hallway, praying silently, anxiously awaiting each minute. Will Eva survive? I wondered, hands trembling. The wait stretched like a century. Days later, the first positive sign. Eva weakly opened her eyes after weeks in deep coma. I sat by her bed, holding her hand when she blinked, big round eyes gazing dreamily at me. My heart stopped, then pounded with joy. Eva, baby, I whispered, collapsing beside her bed, tears uncontainable, grasping her tiny, trembling hand. She weakly squeezed back, and in that moment I felt reborn after endless dark days. Gratitude and regret filled me. I thanked Dad silently, not just for saving my daughter, but me from despair. Thank you, Dad, I said later, voice trembling. He patted my shoulder. We're family, Maddox. Memories of those days remain vivid. I recall childhood, Dad teaching me car repairs in the garage. Afternoons he came home late but played ball with me. Now I understood the poverty was a deliberate lesson. Mom, with simple meals, taught appreciating little things. All silent love. Eva gradually recovered, starting to talk, weakly laughing, and each hospital visit my heart raced with new hope. A few weeks after Eva began recovering, I received a call from my father. His voice over the phone was still deep and warm but resolute. Maddox, come to your parents' private home on the outskirts of Houston. I have something to discuss with you. I was surprised, as for years I only knew the small wooden house where we grew up, never hearing of any private home. My heart pounded with excitement. What about the company or Eva? I took a taxi immediately, leaving the hospital where Eva was in physical therapy, heading to the address Dad sent. It was my first time there. A grand, classic, quiet villa nestled among lush oak trees. From afar, it appeared like a fairy tale painting with moss-covered stone walls, red-tiled roof, and a vast garden. I wondered, why hide such a place? Was this another part of the truth Dad revealed? As the taxi stopped at the gate, I watched the massive iron gate open slowly, my heart pounding. I felt out of place, bewildered, somewhat embarrassed, still unbelieving this was my parents' home. Stepping out, I walked the winding stone path, flanked by ancient oaks spreading wide canopies, leaves rustling in the breeze. The scent of damp earth and wildflowers reminded me of childhood, but everything here was too luxurious compared to my simple memories. My heart raced with excitement. Was Mom here? What did Dad want to say? Did I deserve all this after years of misunderstanding? In the foyer, my mother, Ellen Carter, 60, greeted me with a gentle smile. She was slender, with a kind face etched with laugh lines from years with grandchildren, but her eyes showed worry seeing me gaunt and haggard after months of exhaustion. She said little, just hugged me warmly. The embrace carried her familiar faint perfume from childhood, choking me with emotion. After so long, I felt like a child finding a lost home, where pain seemed to melt in Mom's arms. Mom, sorry for not calling, I whispered, tears welling. She shook her head, stroking my hair. You're home, that's enough, Maddox. I worried so much. My heart raced. Was she aware of everything? Was this true family reunion? Mom led me upstairs to Dad's large study. The room was filled with books and files, serious with a big wooden desk and wall paintings of seas and ships. Around were thick folders stamped with Montgomery Shipping Line's logo, the emblem Harlan and Sylvia once boasted. Dad sat there, eyes sharp but warm, handing me a file, voice slow. Son, during past business with Montgomery Shipping Lines, I noticed irregularities in their finances. I took the file, heart clenching in surprise. Business partnership, Dad worked with them. Excitement flooded as I flipped through complex numbers and documents. Dad explained he stayed silent then for lack of solid evidence. I didn't want to rush, son. But after your tragedy, losing Bonnie, Aaron, and Harlan and Sylvia's heartless humiliation amid your grief, I decided to investigate thoroughly. My heart tightened more. Emotions mixed painful hospital insult memories and curiosity. What secrets? Dad said he investigated for months using Carter Logistics connections, uncovering serious violations, money laundering through fake contracts, tax evasion via offshore transfers, embezzling charity funds Sylvia proudly managed. He quietly gathered evidence, emails, invoices, records, and bought shares from disgruntled shareholders wanting out. Hearing this, I froze, mouth agape in shock. Those who scorned me, calling me lowly worker, were now exposed as greedy and rotten inside. My heart pounded with excitement. Did Dad have enough to topple them? Was justice real? Dad looked at me, voice firm. I'm not doing this for revenge, son. To protect my son's honor and keep our family name clean. I can't watch liars and cruel people stay atop glory, trampling others unpunished. His words ignited a fire in me, trembling with emotion and anger. With solid evidence, Dad struck first, sending violation files to Texas's two biggest business papers, the Texas Business Journal and Houston Economic Times. Overnight, media exploded with sensational headlines. Scandal at Montgomery Shipping Lines, money laundering and charity embezzlement. Social media erupted with thousands of comments. Company stock plummeted. I sat at the computer tracking news, heart racing. Did Harlan and Sylvia know who was behind it? Were they panicking? Harlan and Sylvia quickly held a press conference to counter, hiring top lawyers, suing media to silence. Just rival rumors, Harlan said into mics, face flushed with rage. Sylvia stood beside, trying elegance, but eyes panicked. But efforts fueled the fire. Investors withdrew en masse. Shareholders called frantically. The company in total chaos. Dad watched quietly from his study with a subtle smile. He knew the first blow hit their weakest spot, reputation and greed. A strange fire rose in me, not blind hatred but justice approaching step by step. I recalled hospital days, Harlan yelling before nurses, Sylvia smirking, expelling me from my wife's funeral. Now they tasted the collapse they caused me. But Dad reminded, not revenge, son. Justice. We sat together watching news, heart racing with each phone ring. New developments. Total collapse. Under mounting pressure from shareholders, the media, and the Texas state tax authorities, Montgomery Shipping Lines was forced to hold an emergency shareholders meeting at its headquarters in downtown Houston. News of the meeting spread rapidly in the press, and my father called me early that morning. Son, it's time we attend. I want you by my side. My heart pounded with anticipation. Was this the decisive moment? Would Harlan and Sylvia realize their fate was changing? I put on the simple suit Dad bought me, got into the luxury car he drove, and we headed to the gleaming glass skyscraper, the symbol of power Harlan once boasted about. On the way, memories of Bonnie flooded back. She had worked here, smiling brightly when talking about PR projects. Now this place was about to become an arena for justice. As the meeting began, Harlan Montgomery appeared on the large conference hall stage with Sylvia. They tried to maintain a facade of confidence, Harlan in a glossy black suit, Sylvia in an expensive office dress with a forced smile. "We will clarify all baseless rumors," Harlan declared through the microphone, his voice echoing, trying to reclaim authority. But below, shareholders whispered, their eyes full of doubt and unease. Suddenly, the hall doors opened with a creak, drawing all eyes. Wilson Carter and Maddox Carter, my father and I, entered calmly. The entire hall froze in silence, then murmurs rose like waves. Harlan looked surprised on stage, his face turning red with anger, eyes flashing fury. Sylvia stood beside him, smirking coldly, her gaze sweeping over me like a sharp blade. My heart pounded harder than ever, excitement mixed with fear. Would they recognize us? Would this meeting end in violence or justice? I walked beside Dad, trying to stay calm, but my hands trembled slightly, recalling past insults. Harlan stared at me, eyes full of contempt and mockery, as if saying this lowly worker had no right in elite territory. "What is he doing here?" he whispered to Sylvia, voice dripping disdain. Sylvia stood aside, flashing a cutting smile, seeing our appearance as cheap farce. She crossed her arms, eyes scanning me like an insect. My chest tightened with anger, but Dad patted my shoulder. "Stay calm, son. Let justice speak." We moved forward amid curious shareholder gazes, my heart racing with excitement. This was when everything would explode. Dad stepped onto the stage calmly, declaring clearly, "My son Maddox Carter and I have become new shareholders of Montgomery Shipping Lines." His voice echoed, causing the hall to buzz. He placed the thick file on the table, eyes sharp on Harlan. The hall grew louder, many turned to each other, stunned in disbelief. "Who is this?" someone whispered. My heart pounded with excitement. Would they accept? Would Harlan react violently? Evidence of Montgomery Shipping Lines violations appeared on the large screen. Fake invoices, money laundering transactions, charity fund embezzlement records. Shareholders erupted, some standing to question Harlan in rage. "Is this true? You deceived us." Harlan's face turned purple, veins bulging as he countered, "This is a setup. These documents are forged." But each piece of evidence was cross-verified, numbers matching to the detail, making his defenses meaningless and ridiculous. The relentless counterblow made Harlan slump into his chair, sweat pouring over his pale face. Sylvia staggered up, eyes full of hatred toward me as if seeking a target, but I stood still, cold and silent, letting justice speak instead of words. The board quickly voted amid chaos, removing Harlan from management and suspending all Montgomery family powers in the company. Sporadic applause mixed with boos. At that moment, the hall doors opened again and police entered with a temporary arrest warrant for Harlan on fraud and tax evasion charges. "Harlan Montgomery, you are under arrest," the officer read coldly. Harlan was escorted out amid camera flashes, face twisted in humiliation. Sylvia collapsed in the hall, panicked and shamed, eyes desperately seeking me, but I just watched silently, letting justice speak instead of hatred. Days later, the Montgomery family assets were frozen for investigation, their luxury villa sealed with police tape, media covering non-stop for days. From the pinnacle of fame, they became symbols of greed and deceit's collapse. I followed the news, heart racing with excitement. Was this the end? Had justice truly won? Dad sat beside me, smiling. "Son, this is just the beginning." Memories of Bonnie and Aaron flooded, moving me. They were gone, but our honor was restored. After months of intense and grueling investigation, the Montgomery family case finally went to trial at the Texas State Court, drawing statewide media attention with sensational headlines and reporters crowding outside the courthouse. With irrefutable evidence my father had gathered, internal emails, fake invoices, and international money transfer records, Harlan Montgomery was sentenced to 18 years in prison for fraud and money laundering, while Sylvia received 12 years as an accomplice. In embezzling charity funds, all their assets were seized to compensate victims, from company stocks to luxury cars and bank accounts. The villa that once symbolized the Montgomery lineage, where they hosted lavish parties and flaunted prestige, was publicly auctioned to cover damages. News of the auction spread, and my father called me to his study. "Son, we're buying it back." I was surprised, heart racing with excitement. Buy it for what? Revenge by destroying it? But Dad shook his head. "Not revenge, son. It's tied to your and Bonnie's memories, where she grew up, where you visited. We'll buy it to preserve the good." We bid quietly through a proxy and acquired it reasonably, as no one wanted the scandal house. On key handover day, I entered the villa. Memories flooded. Christmas parties Bonnie dragged me to, her smile under crystal chandeliers. My heart clenched with emotion. Could I turn this into a home? After renovations, fresh paint, replacing ornate furniture with simpler pieces, expanding the garden for Eva to play, the house became our new home. Eva's morning laughter filled the once cold villa with life and warmth. She ran in the oak garden, picking wildflowers for me, and each dad made my heart race with happiness. Did she remember her mom and brother? As life stabilized, with Eva healthy and starting school, Dad brought me into the shipping company where he was a major shareholder, Carter Logistics, built from scratch. "Start as yard manager, son," he said firmly. "Learn from the ground up, prove your ability." I nodded, heart racing with excitement. Could I do it? Would colleagues accept a former steelworker? I began with basics, supervising trucks, checking cargo, learning modern logistics. Early days were tough with long shifts and new knowledge, but my dedication earned recognition. Colleagues respected my hands-on experience, and within months I led a small team solving transport issues efficiently. Each small success made my heart race with pride. Was this my new path? Years later, I became one of the company's top managers, seen as a worthy successor. I advanced from yard manager to regional director, handling major projects like international route expansion. Dad proudly patted my shoulder in meetings. "Son, you've proven it." My heart raced thinking of the journey from hospital parking lot to high-rise office. Eva grew strong, excelling in school and always smiling like her mom. I taught her self-respect, honest work, and about Grandma Bonnie as a strong woman. One late afternoon, watching Eva play in the villa garden, I smiled faintly. She ran among oaks, laughter echoing as I leaned on the railing, cool breeze blowing. Loss, Bonnie and Aaron still ached, but justice came, honor restored by my own hands. My heart raced with excitement for the future. Would Eva be proud of Dad? Would we be happy forever? But now I knew the journey had closed and a new chapter began. One late autumn morning, when the oak leaves began turning brilliant shades of gold and red, I decided to take Eva to the suburban area where my parents lived. It was a sudden but heartwarming idea. I wanted her to know her roots, the small wooden house where I grew up with simple memories. Eva sat excitedly in the back seat, holding her favorite doll, singing cheerfully the whole way. "Dad, do Grandma and Grandpa have a big garden?" she asked, her big round eyes sparkling. We drove along familiar roads, the cool autumn wind blowing through the windows, carrying the scent of fallen leaves and damp earth. The old house amid the oak grove was as peaceful as ever, with its dark brown wooden roof and simple white fence, only now the yard echoed with the laughter of a 4-year-old girl. Eva rushed in, shouting with joy at the sight of ripe apples on the trees. Wilson and Ellen, my parents, welcomed their granddaughter with warm embraces, faces beaming with delight. Dad, with his silver hair and sturdy frame, lifted Eva high, laughing heartily. "My granddaughter, growing so fast." Mom, Ellen, stroked her hair, eyes glistening. "Eva, you look just like your mom." They sat on the wooden porch where the old rocking chairs remained, watching me lead Ava around the garden, their eyes glowing with quiet pride. The son, once lost and despairing, had found himself again. I felt their gaze, my heart racing with emotion. Had I truly made them proud? Were those painful years worth this moment? The autumn wind rustled the oak leaves, carrying the familiar earthy scent, and I sat on the steps beside them, listening to Ava's laughter echoing from afar. I sat on the steps watching my daughter run circles in the garden, suddenly feeling lighter than ever. Years of pain, humiliation, loss, from the horrific accident that took my wife and son to the exhausting days in the hospital parking lot, were now compensated by Eva's innocent smile. She picked fallen leaves, running to give me one. "For Dad's crown." I smiled, placing it on my head, heart racing with simple joy. Did she know Dad nearly lost everything? Could I protect her from life's storms? Memories returned like slow-motion film, moving me to tears. I recalled the journey, sleepless nights in the hospital lot curled with the old bag, rain pattering on the shelter like despair's whisper. I remembered that rain, cold and relentless, crying for my loss of wife and child. Then Dad's unexpected appearance, his warm voice calling my name in the night, pulling me from the abyss. And the day justice spoke in court, Harlan and Sylvia sentenced, faces pale with shame. It all felt like a fading dream, leaving profound lessons on perseverance and dignity. I learned to rise after every fall, that dignity lies not in wealth or status, but in facing adversity. My heart raced thinking of those lessons. Could I apply them to Eva? Would she grow with Dad's resilience? I realized poverty was never shameful. Only losing honor and self-respect truly breaks a person. In my steelworker years, I felt inferior due to background. But now I knew those calluses forged me into a steadfast man. Life could take everything, wife, child, home, honor, but not the will to live and love Bonnie left in me. She whispered, "You're my pillar, Maddox," and those words echoed, helping me rise when weary. My heart raced with excitement. Was I living worthy of that love? Would Eva feel her mother's legacy? Now each day I live continues her unfinished story of kindness, a man's strength rising from extremes. I teach Eva goodness, helping others without expecting return as Bonnie did. She listens, eyes wide, and I see my wife in her warm smile, resilience. I glance at my parents, seeing in their eyes faith the next generation won't repeat past tragedies. Dad nods. "Son, you've done well. Eva will grow without what you endured." Mom strokes my hand. "I'm proud of you, my son." My heart races with emotion. Did they know they were my strength? As the sun dipped behind the oaks, painting the garden red, I lifted Ava into my arms. She nuzzled my chest, yawning. "Dad, tell about Mom." I told, voice warm, of Bonnie, the brave woman who chose love over fame. I knew pain would fade with time. Only honor, compassion, and integrity were worth passing on. In that quiet afternoon, I smiled faintly, not for the tearful past, but for the future opening with forgiveness and love's light. My heart raced with excitement for days ahead. Would Eva be happy? Would I be a good dad? But I believed, with lessons from the journey, we'd walk steadily.